about ready? Okay, just start.
Okay. Well, my name is Ohse Davis, and it is spelled O-H-S-E because we had to translate it from the Norwegian. It's a Norwegian name. If I had spelt it in the Norwegian way, it would be entirely different. They have different vowels in the Norwegian alphabet than they have in the English, and it's like the French and the German, that have these different vowels, and you just couldn't use it.
Yeah.
So that's why I always spell my name for people.
When were you born?
I was born in 1914. I suppose I forgot, I don't remember exactly when World War I started, but I think it was in August or September, wasn't it? And so I was born in October in 1914.
Where?
In Larvik, Norway. Larvik is a small town on the southern coast of Norway, and it has a very small, flat place where the boats come in and where the harbor was, and then it goes straight up into the mountains.
Okay.
And so if you live in Larvik, you learn how to walk up hills.
Well, what did your parents do?
And, well, my mother was a housewife, and my father was a marine engineer. And he was at sea. He didn't meet me until I was 2 years old when we came to the United States. He took a ship during the war to New York, and the pay in New York was so much better than the pay in Norway. And so he decided to stay for a year or so and then asked my mother if she wanted to come over with me and visit him. And so she did. And 17 years later, we went back.
Is that right? Now let me back you up a little bit. You said you gave a good story, but you were almost born in a Russian prison.
Oh yes, during the summer of 1914, my dad, being a marine engineer, was able to invite his wife on a cruise. They went from some port down in Belgium up the coast of Norway, and it's a lovely tour, with the fjords and things, and went around the top of Norway into the White Sea. And the captain took his wife, and all the officers took their wives, and they had a lovely summer cruise. And while they were in Russia with a German ship and a German cargo, Russia and Germany declared war on each other. And they were interned. Now, they were allowed to stay on the ship, I think, most of the time. But sometimes they were not. They were herded into, but by and large, they were allowed to stay on the ship. And they, well, if we hadn't gotten out, they escaped one night without a moon, of course, and were chased out of the White Sea by the patrol boats, Russian patrol boats. And I say that and then we got home. Mother got home in August, and I was born in September, and in October. So you see, I was almost born in a Russia, and I surely would have been in prison. They wouldn't have let me stay. I have a beautiful tablecloth that my mother embroidered that she made from the lace that she bought in Russia. The women sat along the pier and made this lace by hand. And she bought the lace and made it, put it into a tablecloth. And I still have that very beautiful tablecloth made by this handmade lace.
Wow. So it was shortly after that you came to America?
Yes. I came, not shortly after. I came in 1918, right in the middle of the war. And Mother tells of the lifeboat drills that they had all the time. Luckily, they didn't get sunk like the Lusitania or some of the other ships. And we got to New York and went through Ellis Island.
Now, where was your childhood spent?
Dad was, he really was not interested in going to sea now that he had a family. And so he was working around trying to get jobs that would let him stay at home. he worked in the shipyards in Newport News and in Jacksonville. And then, of course, after the war and after everything was dismantled and everything, why, he was downsized, I guess you would call it today. And he took a job with the electrification of the railroad in Virginia, in West Virginia. And we lived in a small town called Mullins, or Mead Pokey, I guess is where we lived. Where the devil came regularly, up and down the hills, and there was a swinging bridge across the river, and people would get in a fight on there and throw each other into the river. We lived right on the river. It was a very exciting time. Of course, I was, 9, 10 years old. My brother was just born. We came, the two of us. I was 9 years old when he was born. And we moved to this little town, Mead Pokey. Now, they had a one-room school, but my mother was not interested in me attending a one-room school. And so she made arrangements to have me go into the school in Mullins. And Mullins is, I guess, maybe a thriving city at this point. I have seen it on the map, but I've never been back.
Okay. Now, what kind of child were you?
Well, we always ate. My mother was a housewife. She had never lifted a hand in her life. She never learned to cook. She never learned to clean house. She never learned to do anything. She wasn't interested in learning either. So she didn't. We grew up in. My brother was born in Newport News before we moved to West Virginia. We lived in West Virginia for only a year. And then we moved to Virginia, Narrows, Virginia, which is right in the mountains, right in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Beautiful place on the New River. And there we spent 3 years. And he worked in the electric. He got out of the railroad, electrification of the railroad, and worked in the electric plant there. And from that place, he went on down to Dania, Florida, where he was an engineer down there.
I'm guessing you were a rambunctious child. What kind of child were you?
Well, I don't know. I guess maybe I was a little hard to get along with.
In what sense?
Well, I wanted my own way, but I can't remember being rambunctious as a child.
Yeah.
I became more rambunctious as I got to be older.
Okay, pick up the story then. The family came down to Dania. Where is Dania in Florida?
Dania is Hallandale, Fort Lauderdale,
Okay.
right in there. I think it's right in between Fort Lauderdale and Hallandale.
Okay.
It's a rather small town. And my brother was in kindergarten, and I was in the 8th grade,
Okay.
9th grade.
And you weren't there very long before you came to Volusia, right?
We were there for a year.
Okay.
And that was when my dad became ill with this Danube fever or something. I don't remember the name of it exactly, but it's something like that. And he was very ill for quite a long time. I will say that while the Florida Power and Light Company didn't pay their employees very much, they did take care of them. And they sent him then, when he recovered, up to the plant at Lake Monroe, because it was a smaller plant and he was able to get around there better.
Now, about what year would that have been?
That would have been 1926.
Okay.
And he was there. We finished. Mother was always very careful to finish the school year for me, so that I could finish the school year and start a new year. So we stayed. He came up, I don't remember how long it was, but it was quite a long time. And we stayed until the end of the school year, and then we came up to Volusia County, and he had rented a place for us to live in Orange City.
Orange City. Now, what were your first impressions of the area then? Do you recall?
I don't remember Orange City at all, that part of it.
You were about 12, 13, I guess.
Yes, and I went to school in DeLand, rode the school bus. We lived on Graves Avenue, just about a block from where the old post office was, and it was a social time. The mails were delivered in the afternoon. Of course, no mail was delivered to the house in those days, and everybody gathered at the post office for, exchanged views, and we talked and everything, the young people and the older people. And of course, the postmaster knew, when we got mail and when we didn't, and probably what the mail said, I don't know.
Now, was that the post office that you first heard about the Depression?
Yes,
and the
now that was one of the vignettes that I have in my mind from Orange City, was the fact that I was standing in the post office waiting for the mail with this big crowd of people around, and they were all, of course, talking about the stock market crash, and I didn't even know what they were talking about. So I just, listened for a while, and I thought, that's a stupid thing for them to be all excited about, so what?
Yeah.
Of course, I was entirely insulated from that. In those days, there were school buses for the white children, but none for the blacks. And if the blacks went to high school, which very few of them did, but some of them did, they had to take a taxi into town.
Oh my goodness.
Now, I don't know, but I think the school board paid for that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But there was absolutely nothing done. And I can remember where we collected our old textbooks to give to the black students.
And all that was pretty much accepted. That wasn't an
Oh
issue.
yeah, that wasn't unusual.
Yeah.
That wasn't unusual.
Okay.
And where we lived on Graves Avenue, directly behind us was the, what you would say, the ghetto, where the colored people lived.
Mm-hmm.
And if you needed someone to help you clean your house, why, you just walked back there and talked to a couple of people, and you could get anybody you wanted to work, because, I'm talking about 27, 28, 29,
Yeah.
30.
Okay, you're starting to grow up a little bit, so you probably have a little more memories of that time.
Yes,
what kind of a child were you
30
now?
and 31. I was active in many things in the school. I was in their dramatic club. I was in the glee club. I was in several things. Because I was interested in all of those things, which all happened after school, I had to stay after school. And of course, my dad had a car which he would take to Lake Monroe. There were no telephones in Orange City. There were maybe 2 or 3 telephones in the whole town. There was a telephone central, we called it, and a woman who was there, and of course she knew everybody, and I would call her and say, if you see my mother or father, tell them I haven't got a ride home, This is the way we got our messages around.
Yeah.
She had that had the place in her home until very recently, really very recently. Culp was her name.
Oh, very
Culp.
good.
Yeah, her name was and Mrs. Culp. We would call Mrs. Culp, and of course, all the phone calls went through her, coming or going, So, but it was. I can remember that I would stay after school, and I would either walk home. I walked home.
Oh, wow.
I would hitch a ride with someone I knew. People lived in Orange City and worked in the land, and they would know us. And in those days, you picked up people you saw along the street anyway.
Yeah.
So that was the way. Another thing was, I don't know whether you've heard anyone speak about Howard Warner. Howard Warner was recently an attorney. He died 2, 3 years ago. But Howard was delivered the mail.
Okay.
He delivered the mail. He had a Model T, a Ford, and he delivered the mail from DeLand to Farmton.
Farmton. Now,
Farmton. See, you haven't been
Okay.
anywhere.
that's toward New Smyrna Beach, then.
No.
Farmton?
Well, you go from DeLand to Orange City, from Orange City to Enterprise, from Enterprise to Osteen, and then from Osteen to Farmton.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that was his mail route. And he had this old Model T Ford sedan with no top on it. It was just, he could throw the mail bags in the back, and we would sit on top of the mail bags, and we would wait for him. Now, the last mail delivery was I remember it so well, was at 5:15, and I would sit on the grass at the post office, down on, what is that street that the old post office was in?
Oh, Amelia, New York?
Florida.
Okay.
It was on the corner of Florida and one of those other streets, Indiana, I think.
Okay.
Well, anyway, I would sit there because I was the one who did all those things. Other people in Orange City weren't interested, but I was in the dramatic club, I was in the glee club, I was in, just everything that went on.
So you were waiting for a ride.
And I was waiting for a ride, so I would sit there on the grass and wait until the last delivery of the mail, which is at 5:15, and I would get in Howard's car and ride back to Orange City. Of course, in the wintertime, it was pretty, and without daylight saving time, it was dark.
Yeah.
So it wasn't always pleasant, to sit around and wait.
Yeah.
For this, and then of course you were afraid to go anywhere because if he should happen to come in early, he wouldn't know you were there, and there was no way to let him know.
Yeah. No phone.
No, but we used to ride, and then of course during the summertime, Howard still have this route, and we would ride with him to Enterprise and go swimming at Green Springs. That is when we had the dime. It cost a dime to get in. We didn't always have that dime that we could go in.
Yeah.
But then he would go on to Enterprise, Osteen, and Farmton, and come back, and then we would be, get on the ride home. So it was wonderful. We used to go to Green Springs a lot. Now, when we didn't have the dime, we went to Blue Springs. And Blue Springs was owned by the Thursby family at that time.
Oh, yeah.
And they were, of course, you could drive into the Boyle. It was a real rough road, just tracks through the scrub. Or you could go into the main entrance. The main road into Blue Springs at that time was on Blue Springs Avenue, and of course it was an unpaved road, and it was corduroy. Did you ever ride on a corduroy road?
I think I know what you're talking
A
about.
corduroy road, you go like that all the time.
Like a washboard.
Exactly,
Yeah.
a washboard.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Okay.
And that was the only way to get to Blue Springs in a car. And then later, much later, they built of course, when you got to the railroad tracks, you just went over the railroad tracks. Because the railroad goes just before Blue Springs, just before the springs.
Okay.
And they built this bridge over the railroad, and then they built that on French Avenue. A state, I guess. I mean, I didn't know who was building what at those days. I wasn't very interested. And then they had a better road. It was still unpaved, but it was kept up. But that washboard road, that was awful. That was painful to ride to.
Did you go to DeLand for entertainment? Was that an entertainment center there?
Well, there was no way.
No
I mean,
transportation.
we didn't have cars. My dad had a car, but and he worked shifts. And when he was home, the car was home during the day. We could use it a little bit,
Yeah.
But he had to have a car to go to work.
Okay.
And nobody else had a car. The boys didn't have cars. I mean, the boys would borrow their dad's car and take you to the movies at night, and then you'd stop and get a Coke and come home. I mean, what else would it be?
Yeah. Where did you stop and get a Coke?
Well, there was the courthouse pharmacy, as I remember, and you just parked outside and they came out, you know. Oh, yeah. And they had trays that they put on the windowsill.
Yeah.
And the courthouse pharmacy is where it's right next to the courthouse on the east.
Okay.
And that was the main place that we would stop and get a Coke.
Okay.
Of course, also somewhere along there, and I can't remember where it was, but right off the boulevard there was a diner. And they had the best barbecue. Oh, they were. And then, of course, when you had a quarter, you could go in there and get a barbecue. But that was later when I was in Stetson.
Okay. You went to the movies where? Was that the Athens Theater or
No, the Athens Theater was closed.
Draca's?
The Dreka Theater.
Draca. Okay. Yeah.
The Dreka Theater. And that was where the Orange Belt Pharmacy is now.
Okay.
In that same place.
Yeah. Now you graduated what year?
31.
Okay. Now what did you do after graduation?
Well, we went, my mother inherited some money, and so we went to Norway.
For an extended vacation or what?
Oh, yeah. I stayed a year and a half.
Okay.
Studied music at the Music Conservatory and, had a good time.
Uh-huh.
My mother came on home with my brother. The three of us went.
Your father had...
He stayed. He stayed and worked here.
Oh, okay.
And when he came back, he had bought a new car. And he met Mother in New York with this new car. And as I remember it, in those days, it was a Chevrolet. And what he did was take a bus to Detroit and pick the Chevrolet up at the factory. I don't think you can do that anymore.
It's not the usual one. Huh?
No,
Okay.
Picked a car up at the factory and then drove from Detroit to New York and picked up my mother, my brother.
Now, when you returned from Norway, you began your continue your education.
I came back. I came back from Norway, and I stayed with a friend in New York for a day or two, and then I came home, of course, by bus.
Okay.
Well, you know, there were no planes. That is nothing that ordinary people could fly in, and I came back by bus, and I just ran completely out of money. I mean, completely. And the bus was delayed. They always delay, you know, something here and something there. Of course, in those days, the buses did not have restrooms on the bus. And so when you had a stop and you were riding a bus, you had a choice. You could get something to eat or you could go to the restroom. They didn't stay long enough for you to do both. Well, I ran out of money, and so I can remember that my seatmate was someone that I'd never seen before and never seen after, bought breakfast for me, and we had grits and scrambled eggs, because I was out of money. I just didn't. I had a dime, and when we got to Jacksonville, my family met me in Jacksonville, and they took. Of course, I had two big trunks and suitcases and everything. Took that off the bus. I gave the guy who took the stuff off the bus my dime. That was the last money I had, and I came all the way from Norway. I was flat, busted, broke. Yeah. Then I then I went to Stetson.
Okay.
Came back and got a scholarship. I sang some Norwegian songs. Of course, I didn't know anything about music, and I didn't know very much about singing. But anyway, I had a fair voice.
Is that how you earned your scholarship?
Yeah.
By singing?
And I got a partial. Of course, Stetson, the music school, only had about 35, 40 people in it in those days, and their teachers were paid practically nothing. So, and I remember that my tuition was $40 or $50 a semester, and I got part of that in a scholarship. And I would get the money from my father, and that the fellow who was the bursar, bless his heart, he was the sweetest thing. I've been trying to think of his name. Of course, you know, it is more than 60 years, and it isn't easy to remember these names. But he was very, very nice, and he would let me go to class until that money ran out. And when the money ran out, he would send me a little note and say, you cannot attend classes until you make another payment. So then I would have to go home and wait until Dad had a payday, and then I would get some more money, and I would come in and pay and make another payment.
How long did it take you to graduate that way?
It got better, you know, as time went on. Roosevelt came in, and the Florida Power and Light Company started paying their men a living wage, and things got a little bit better. Not a great deal. One of the things that I remember, I got in the band at Stetson. Now, I was in the Glee Club. First year, I was a soloist. You know, I had all these Norwegian songs because I'd been taking music in Norway, and I was a soloist. Traveled all over the state with the Glee Club and sang solos and things. And then, after that first year, Harold Giffen came in. I was there a year before he was.
Okay.
And he, of course, had his own people that he didn't use me as a soloist anymore, but he did keep me in the Glee Club, thank goodness. I don't know why, because I couldn't sing very well. I had a tin ear. Well, anyway, one of the things that I remember the most, I joined the band because I didn't have the dollar to go to the games. And with the band, you got to go to the games free.
The games being
football.
Football.
Oh, we were playing football those days.
Yeah.
And the band did not have uniforms. And the thing that I remember the most is that one day the band marched in a parade about a football game or something down the boulevard in the land, and the band all wore white dresses with a green ribbon. They bought the ribbon for us, but everybody wore a white dress and white shoes, and that was our band uniform. Well, I didn't have a white dress, nor did I have white shoes, and I tried to get excused, and they wouldn't excuse me from the band. So I walked down the boulevard in the midst of all of these people in white with a green dress and brown shoes, and I have never forgotten it. That was the most embarrassing thing. I was, 17, 18, and the most embarrassing thing that I can remember. That's one of the things, that's one of the things I remember about Stetson.
Okay, but you graduated from there
with a
bachelor's in music in 1940.
1940.
What did you do after that? Did you go directly to education then?
No, I taught music. I got a job. In the middle of my junior year, I got a job. You know, things were rough. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, 1940, 1938, 1937.
Yeah.
Things were rough. Jobs were scarce.
Still recovering from the Depression.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I got a job in Umatilla teaching music, and I didn't get the job until February. I started in February, and I taught until June, and that was when I got married in June. My husband was a teacher. He was a teacher. I think he was in Pearson that year.
Okay.
He was an elementary school teacher. Well, anyway.
Your job was in the public schools in Umatilla?
Yeah, and in the public schools. I taught music from the first grade through the 12th. Yeah, I didn't have sense enough to know that you couldn't teach every period all day long. I had it in 20-minute periods, and I didn't have a break all day, and I almost died. I was so tired. Well, then I spent the second year in Umatilla, and then I got a job in Marion County,
Okay.
and I taught in Marion County, and I lived in Ocala, and I taught in 6 schools in Marion County.
In
6 schools.
in one
taught
school year?
music. In music.
You were traveling
Traveling around.
teacher, yeah.
Traveling around. And I can't even remember the names. I remember there was a Citra and a Fort McCoy and an East Marion, but I can't remember any of the other names. And I think those towns have disappeared. You know, they were just small, one-room affairs. But
Yeah.
I taught music in all of those schools.
Wow. And then when did you begin working
And
in
then
Volusia?
the next year, I got a job in Volusia County, and I started teaching in Volusia County in 39 and 40, and I taught in 4 schools: Orange City, Lake Helen, Enterprise, and Ohse.
Okay. Were those high schools, elementary schools?
Oh, well,
Or
they weren't exactly. Although they weren't high schools. They weren't high schools. They had buses that ran for the high school. I don't know whether the Enterprise went. I think they went up to the 10th grade.
Okay.
The rest of them were 7th and 8th. Well, you see, these were they were all of these schools. First 3 grades for one teacher. First grade. The next is the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. That was the second teacher, and the principal taught the 7th and 8th. And he got $10 extra a month for being principal.
Okay. That was a lot of money too.
Oh yeah, and my husband was one of those teachers. He was in Lake Helen. He was the principal of the Lake Helen school by that time.
Okay.
And of course, it was all different school districts. You know, I mean, Lake Helen was a school district, Orange City was a school district. When I got that job teaching music, I had to go to, I guess it was 16 16 board members.
Okay.
And of course, if one of them didn't like you, well, then you had a problem.
Now, you were a teacher for 50 years, weren't you?
Well, I taught for 35.
Taught for 35.
I started in 37 and I retired in 74.
Okay. How would you compare the students of that day with this?
Well, you see, the last 10 years or so, I was not working with the students much. I was working with them some, but not much. I was working mostly with the teachers, because with the audiovisual, I was furnishing all of this electronic equipment for the teachers. And while I had students, I helped the students with their taping and with their photography and so on. And then I had student helpers who learned to do the movie projectors, who learned to do the tape recorders and the video cameras later.
After you retired, you didn't stay inactive at all, did you?
No, 3 years later I was on the school board.
Were you appointed at first?
Yes. Jim Clayton, the attorney, would not give his net worth
Financial
and
disclosure.
financial disclosure.
Yeah. And so you
And he just refused, and Askew said that if you don't, I'm going to have to put someone, remove you from the position. And he said he couldn't do it because that would be, would something about the confidentiality between the attorney and his client.
So then the following term you were elected.
Yes. 2 terms. I was elected 2 terms.
Okay, and then
Because I served a year on, or a little bit more than a year on the appointment.
and you served for through '86. Right?
Yes.
From about was it 77?
77.
From 77
Mhm.
through '86.
Mhm.
What do you consider the accomplishments of that period by the school board? What do you remember most?
You mean what I feel is my accomplishment?
Yeah, as a member of the school board during that period.
Well, the school board at that time was really run very loosely. They did not have job descriptions of any of the supervisors, and yet they had dozens of supervisors. They did not have any. Well, that was one of the main things. Was that there were also times when I felt that they needed to bring in the public, bring in the parents, bring in the business people. I can remember one time that the person who was in charge, it's all right for me to say if I don't use names, isn't it?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
The person who was in charge of the vocational education made a report to the school board on the 5 years, a 5-year plan. And it was a very nice 5-year plan. And as a member of the school board, I said, well, who was on your committee? Well, there wasn't anybody on the committee. She had done that herself. And I said, well, what businesses did you contact before you started making a plan for vocational education? Well, she hadn't contacted any businesses. Well, you see, this type of thing, which is ridiculous.
No community involvement.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we had no volunteers or anything like that in the school. Parents were really not welcomed.
So
It's all right if they came, but I mean, they weren't encouraged, let me say.
Yeah.
They weren't encouraged.
So you set out to change that.
Well, I tried to, in many ways. I tried to tighten up on the work of the school board, and also another thing that I thought was a shame, that I still think is too bad, is that we are going to be living in a culture which is going to be bilingual. And yet we still do not teach language in the elementary schools. What we do is wait until the 9th grade, and then we teach a year of Spanish. Well, when they're in the 9th grade, they're 15 years old. And the time that kids learn languages is when they are 5 years old. And what we need to do is start teaching Spanish, because that is the language that we're going to have, I think, bilingually.
Yeah.
We ought to start teaching Spanish in the kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
And I was moving in that direction. We had a few schools who were doing that. Had a few schools who were beginning to do that. And then, of course,
Yeah.
it all.
Tell me about the period after '86. What it was like for you then.
Well,
Lynn.
it was very. My husband died in '83,
Mm-hmm.
and from '83 until '86, I was still very busy with the school board.
Yeah.
But in '86, when I was not reelected, and of course by that time I was how old? 2 or 3 years old, you know. I was really, and not only that, we had 2 people in DeLand and no one in Deltona. And Deltona was 40,000 people, and it was only right that Deltona have someone.
Representative.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And all of a sudden I had nothing to do. You know, no school board, no husband, no nothing. My children were married, gone. So I just decided the thing to do was to get out and see what I could find to do.
And you found a lot to do.
Yeah,
didn't
well,
you?
I found some things, yeah. I got at the Chamber of Commerce, and I became active in the government affairs and in the education committee, and I
League of
got
Women
with the
Voters.
League of Women Voters, and I was on the as a director of the League of Women Voters, and then I got on the state board as a, oh dear, I can't even remember what I was, but anyway, I was on the state board, and then I got with the juvenile justice. I got on the juvenile justice committee, which is an advisory committee for Volusia and Flagler District 12, and we got a lot of money from the government and a lot of money from the state to spend, and many programs.
Committee on the Status of Women.
Oh well, yes, I was president of the I was president of the commission on the status of women.
Did you feel strongly about women's issues?
Yes, I do. You know, I look at the newspaper, and there is a picture of any kind of a committee, or any kind of heads of states, or any kind of things, and it's all men. It's all men, and yet women are more than 50% of, and women are just as smart as the men. Of course, women are trained differently. Still.
Yeah.
And not only that, they are expected to do the housework, the work that runs the family. You don't have the men who buy the groceries and wash the dishes and do the laundry and, you know. Oh, they help out sometimes when they have to. I mean, you know, you're laughing.
I'm guilty.
But by and large, it's the woman who runs the family. And then, of course, anything that she does on the side is in addition to that.
As a society, how do we change that? What?
I don't know how you do it. Of course, women are partly to blame for that, because many women feel that that is what they want. All they want is a man to take care of them, and something, you know, they're not interested in getting out and battling. And if you're going to make your mark in the world, you've got to battle. Men or women. And they don't want to do it.
You've been a battler, haven't you? You've been
Sort
a
of.
fighter.
Sort of. Of course, when all those years that I was teaching and I was involved with that. I wasn't involved with other things.
Yeah. But you've always been very strong-willed, I remember, on the school board.
Oh, yes. And if I had something to say, I said it.
Never get you in trouble?
Sure.
Do you remember?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I remember. Especially, another one of the things that I tried to do. Do you remember that when I got on the school board and they were building a new building, they would bring the blueprints in and put them on the table in front of the school board and expect them to pass them. Yeah. And I said, how can I pass this? How can I vote on this? I haven't seen it before. Well, there it is. I said, sure. But I can't take the time to study it now. So then they allowed me to come up and see it. I had to go up to the 3rd floor in this building. And they would have the blueprints for me. And I could go up there and look at the blueprints. Well, you see, that all changed. Pretty soon, why, they were bringing the things out and they were sending them to the house 2 weeks ahead of time.
Yeah.
So that we could look at them, we could spread them out. And I had a table where I'd spread them out. And then, of course, the thing that I got very interested in was the outlets. How many outlets you got in here?
In the new buildings.
Yeah, but this was all done. It's all new. They should have had 4 outlets on every wall. And can you imagine in a classroom with all the technology that goes on in the classroom? And they would put 1 outlet on each wall? And I just went, you know.
Yeah.
I never will forget the architect that said, why don't you just let us do this? We know what we're doing. And I said, well, I'm the resident electrician.
Okay, what are you doing with your life now?
Well, not much. I've had a sort of rough year, health-wise, and I decided that I couldn't keep up with the things that I was doing. You know, going somewhere all the time.
All the committees
Yeah, and so I just quit everything.
in the past year.
And this past year, I have just dropped out of everything. I think I'm going to be a lot better in the next year, and I will take up some of the things that I have dropped out of. But the League of Women Voters, I was very sorry to get out of that because I enjoyed that work. Chamber of Commerce, I haven't been to any of their committee meetings or anything. Not even the socials, you know, the business after hours.
Yeah.
I haven't even been to those because I just haven't felt like it.
Yeah. Okay, is there anything that you want to say before we come to an end here? Anything that you recall that you've left out? Or?
Well, I don't know whether I have. Oh, I did want to mention the school. What, you know, what's new at the schools.
Oh, yeah.
In cleaning out, which of course you do all the time, I ran across a newspaper clipping that was dated 1977, and it was an old Land Sun News, and they used to run a column which was 25 years ago, and then they would take out things that were interesting 25 years ago. Well, this was 25 years ago from 1977, which made it 1952, right? And George Marks was the superintendent of schools. Of course, he was the superintendent of schools when I started working. And the administration building was down where, it's on the corner, where the county administration building is. It was a little red brick building. And it had 2 rooms. A small lobby in the middle, and then over here was the superintendent's office, which is quite large, and then over the other side was the bookkeeper. And he ran the school system that way.
What was one of the comments that...
And he said, oh, he was all upset because they were expecting a peak load of 15,000 students. Last year they had 12,000 at the end of the year, but they started the year with 10,000 students. This year, in 1952, they are starting with, what are they starting with? 1,300, no,
13,000.
1,124, and that's more than, yeah, well, anyway, I've got the numbers all figured out, all messed up, but anyway, they are expecting, they have 1,325 at the end of the year, this year. Next year, they were expecting 15,000. And so,
Okay, from 13,000 to 15,000,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. So 2,000, and he says, where will we get the money to buy? We must find housing, teachers, transportation, and books for 2,000 students. Where will we get the money? And by the way, the state did not pay for the books.
Yeah.
You bought your own textbooks in those days.
And we're still fighting that struggle, aren't we?
Well, they at least, that's another story. What you find is that the state furnishes the state adopted texts, but teacher A over here says, I don't like that state adopted text. I want my own textbook, and she orders another set of textbooks, and that costs money, and they don't have the money for that, but they have the state adopted texts.
Would you care to comment on today's school board?
No.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you very much. Enjoyed it. That was great.
I talk too much and too loud.
No, that was great. Wonderful. There we go.